How to educate your children about narcissistic abuse. It is easier to educate children aged 8 to 11 years old about narcissistic abuse. After this age they can be educated, but if the narcissistic parent is already an influence in the older child's life, it is unlikely the teenager will understand if they have not yet been introduced. They are already dealing with a lot as teenagers. The info is an agitation, and they will more likely use it to exploit both parents for their own gain. The purpose of educating children is to not take away the reality of their situation. When we withhold this information, we believe it is for love and for their own safety, but we are in fact gaslighting our children. They have a narcissistic parent, and these parents are relentless at using their children as tools. The narcissistic parent nearly always turns their children against the normal parent, and siblings against one another. I have now spoken with so many parents who have no access to their children, because the narcissistic parent made them hate the other parent. They will narcissistically abuse children because they are easy narcissistic supply. The child may develop narcissistic traits, which is a toxic person. Or the worst consequences when a child inherits full-blown narcissistic personality disorder. We cannot be afraid to educate our children. It is for their protection, and it is neglectful to not educate them, but very understandable when we do not. It has to be done with great sensitivity, and without malice towards the narcissistic parent. Be prepared to answer a lot of questions, and to be called a liar. Each child has their own individual response. Do not lie to your children, do not cover up the abuse, especially if they witnessed it, and do not keep persisting they should love the narcissistic parent. Let them make their own choices. Do not speak of the abusive parent fondly, as it's confusing for children. Say truths, or nothing at all. Your contradictions will arouse anger in children, and disruptive behavior. Children of narcissists often live a life attracting toxic people in adulthood, because it was normalized in their home. Don't normalize it even when it's happening. We can break this cycle with knowledge and understanding. Believe that protecting children is being truthful with them. I know how hard this can be, when we too are healing and recovering from narcissistic abuse. This advice is for children aged 8 to 11. I have listed 4 points of focus. To begin educating your children, there is no time limit, it is ongoing, and discussions change as children get older. It is helpful to keep the knowledge building consistent. This does not have to be the only focus, but as part of family time. Have a discussion around this topic at least once a week, and keep it light and fun. Number 1. Explain to children what manipulation means. By now your children should be in the habit of knowing not to talk to strangers, the dangers of the internet, and how to cross the street safely. The explanation of manipulation comes under the same context. You are explaining that some people trick you into doing things, by offering you something else that you want, at the cost of what they truly want from you. There is a good chance they will already be familiar with the concept through books, cartoons and kids shows. Children will grasp it over time. There is no rush. Give examples of an adult offering children sweets, money and toys, so they finish their vegetables or schoolwork. You are describing manipulation when used for positive incentives. Then you explain how it can be used for bad things such as being offered money to get into a stranger's car, and things of that sort. You will at some point inform them that children and adults sometimes manipulate one another. Most children are aware of learning and physical disabilities, and schools have introduced mental health awareness. You let them know that there are adults in the world who have a mental health illness that causes them to use negative manipulation very often, and it is wrong. Explain that when people are manipulating you, they want you to feel guilty and ashamed to get what they want from you. You may have already had similar discussions with your child, so they are aware of sexual predators. The more comfortable your child is at speaking with you about real matters, the harder it will be for them to be manipulated. Using real-life examples helps, and if children understand it, they have a much better chance of identifying incorrect behaviors from adults towards themselves. You will understand your own child's personal level of understanding, but the main aim is for them to understand what manipulation means, and how it can be used positively or negatively. Wait for your child to come to their own understanding about what manipulation means, and answer all questions honestly. Number 2. Storytelling. This is a great way for children to understand. This is reality storytelling. If you were raised by a narcissist, share some of these stories with your children. Explain how you felt at their age, and of course keep the storytelling age appropriate. If your children have witnessed violence or verbal abuse from the other narcissistic parent, discuss it with them from the context of right and wrong behavior. Find out how they felt, and validate their feelings. This is when you remove the blurry lines of right from wrong. For example, if your child witnesses a huge argument, you need to confess that you and their other parent were wrong for doing this in front of them, and it is not how to communicate. Explain how people should communicate. Drill it into your children's head right from wrong communication. It must not be the norm to them. It is very liberating for children to hear this from adults. The child already knows in their gut feelings when things are wrong, and if it is not discussed, they will begin to make their own decisions about what is right and wrong. If your child was affected by any incidences, make sure you give permission for them to talk about it if they choose, and give them the correct information about what a family should look like. This can provoke a lot of anger over time. Why isn't my family good and perfect? You reassure them no family is perfect. They will see this for themselves through friends. Stay consistent with telling children the truth. They will come around because children feel authentic characteristics and real love. Don't be disheartened when your own children gaslight you about their narcissistic parent. As long as you are educating them, the truth will prevail. Be strong. Having a consistent parent is what children crave when their world is full of the contradictions a narcissistic parent naturally brings. Number 3. Tell the truth about your situation. If you have experienced physical, verbal, or emotional abuse, tell your children. If they witnessed abuse, they desperately need to know that it is wrong, and why. A counselor can help with this, and children that have a narcissistic parent should have at least 1 year's counseling, but make it their choice to attend. Really encourage them to attend at least 3 sessions, and if they no longer want to go, that is fine. I recommend counseling especially for children that have witnessed narcissistic abuse by a parent. If this is not attainable, I would still recommend this discussion. Children make decisions about things they see, and this is a good way to untangle any incorrect belief systems they may have about abuse. Number 4. Introduce children to the meaning of gaslighting. Any child of a narcissist, by the age of 12, should know exactly what gaslighting means. This is the narcissist's greatest tool for manipulation. It changes reality for the victim, and is extremely harmful for the brain. It is dangerous and seriously damaging. A teenager that has moved into the narcissist parent's home, and is now the enemy of the normal parent, has been gaslighted. With this new reality, they will begin to exhibit narcissistic traits, and carry the narcissist's entitled attitude. It is hard to come back from this ugly path. Using the real term gaslighting is fine, and you are explaining to children that a person can change what you believe. This can be a funny session, with you telling your children that a really convincing person will convince you the sky's red. As you laugh about different scenarios, you then explain how damaging it can be to the mind when someone believes something that isn't true. You tell your children the person who has been convinced will begin to think they are crazy, and feel very hopeless, worthless and alone. These guidelines make a huge difference to children's understanding. They will surprise you, as they have such a beautiful way of seeing things in its simplicity. As they understand more, anger may come when they see their narcissistic parent exhibiting the very traits they learned about. Some children accept it for what it is, others are annoyed about their situation, and get angry about it, so be patient. By the time these children are teenagers, it should be general discussion. They learn about narcissistic personality disorder more as they get older, and it will bring them to a place of understanding for their narcissistic parent. It will be much harder for these teenagers to be manipulated if they are aware of narcissistic abuse. A teenager who has no idea about narcissistic abuse can play parents against each other, and the narcissistic parent will give their children hardly any discipline to win their favor. This is so disruptive for these young people. I am currently developing a handbook to help parents educate children on narcissistic abuse with a child psychologist. It will be published in 2022. If you would like to be alerted when this is available, please send me an email. Thank you for listening to Narcissist Essays, and please subscribe to my channel. Sending lots of love and strength to those of us victimized by narcissists.